Hello and welcome to the show. Well, Sydney cracks 80% again. We've seen auction numbers improve, and so too with clearance rates. Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic back in just a moment with all the details.
In today's market, great ideas alone simply aren't enough, but innovative execution can hand you a real competitive advantage. Nightlight is a cutting-edge illuminated signboard by Printforce that offers round-the-clock visibility and features that maximise advertising space, improving your exposure. Buyers can now see the full picture, day or night, with Nightlight's edge-to-edge illuminated surface, which utilises environmentally friendly, scratch-resistant technology. Now available in 6x4 and 8x4. Nightlight is as versatile as you need to be in today's market. Let your clients know you're working day and night for them, and then prove it with Nightlight.
Welcome once again to Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic. Hi Kevin, more good news. The numbers seem to be improving as we move in towards spring. Let's bring up the preliminary clearance rates firstly. Hello Kevin, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, look, the combined capital city figure is 75.7 preliminary clearance rate. So again, that's a pretty strong result in the fifth consecutive week over 70%. Coincidentally, exactly the same preliminary clearance rate as Melbourne.
Yes, that's interesting to note too, isn't it? It's down a little bit on last week. I think the prelim last week was 77%. But gee, Brisbane, you know, we commented on Brisbane last week. I think last week it was 60%. This week again, it's 57%. So continuing good numbers right across the country, really.
Oh yeah, look, I think as we've discussed before with Brisbane, it's not a direct comparison I think that you can make with Sydney and Melbourne. But you know, for the first half of the year, Brisbane was really struggling to sort of break 40%, and so in that context, the results of 60% or near 60% we've been seeing recently have been pretty strong in that market.
Yeah, Adelaide 62.5%, Canberra 76%. So yeah, pretty good right across the country.
Oh, look, it is. I mean, across the board, and I mean, even very low volumes, obviously, in Perth. It's difficult to read too much into such low volume figures, their significance. But we have, over the last few weeks, just seen a bit better performance in Perth because it has been in the sort of mid-20s to 30% range. So, you know, even though you get volatility from those small sample sizes, over a period of weeks, you've just seen a little bit more activity or successful activity in Perth.
Okay, well, let's go to the Sydney sub-regions. We'll bring that up firstly and we'll take you to our top Sydney sale in just a moment, which actually came out of North Sydney and Hornsby. We'll take you to that in a moment. Here are the Sydney sub-regions. Walk me through this one, mate. Inner West, 89%?
Yeah, absolutely. The highest is Ryde at 92.6%, and that's been one of the usual suspects, if you like. That's been in the you know, the top of the league table for several weeks in the top five. I mean, you mentioned North Sydney and Hornsby. You've got City and Inner South all in the 80% range, and some of them only just missing the 90% mark by a hair's breadth. Northern Beaches at 89.3%. And once again, these are typically the areas that contain the higher value housing stock. So it does look like the higher value properties are sort of leading the charge as far as improved market conditions are concerned.
I mentioned North Sydney and Hornsby there because with 100 auctions as well, that's still, you know, it's a good benchmark to go by, and 84 or 85% is a really good clearance.
Oh, look, it is, and as you mentioned, I mean, our highest sale of yesterday or of Saturday out of Sydney is from that sub-region.
Well, let's take you to that now. It's 46 Norwood Road at Norwood, as Kevin said, North Sydney and Hornsby. This one sold for $3,710,000 by McGrath's, Sam and Brent. 5-bedder, 4-bedroom, 2-car on 733 square metres. Northwood. Tell me about Northwood.
Yeah, so Northwood is it's fairly close to Lane Cove, and it's a very small suburb, population of about 1,000, and it's 3 or 4 kilometres to the west of the Harbour Bridge on the North Shore. So it's not a suburb that people outside of Sydney may have heard a lot about because it is quite small, but nonetheless, it is in those. The North Shore pocket, which is highly sought after. And this house can probably be described as imposing in terms of its street frontage. Built in 1910, it's about 7 kilometres northwest of Sydney. And it last sold in 2009 for $1.47 million. So you can see over that period, over a 10-year period, what the growth is. But Northwood, the median price has actually slipped a little at 2.7 million. That's actually down about 20% from the peak. But in the light of our previous discussions, these high value properties, which like this one are immaculately presented to market, are likely to still be snapped up in the current market.
Yeah, well, congratulations to the team from McGrath's there for selling that one. Let's take you to Melbourne now. Look at the sub-regions. Our top property sale coming out of Inner with 161 auctions compared to last week's, up a little bit by 10 auctions actually, and even an improved clearance rate, 78% last week, 79.2 this week. What are some of the other highlights? 90% out of Outer East. That's pretty hot.
Absolutely. So the Outer East is continuing a fantastic run. I mean, we've seen this for the last couple of months. And I've mentioned before, unlike what we've just discussed in Sydney, the Outer East is actually quite a diverse area. It covers quite a big area and includes a variety of different property types. But obviously, sort of sitting a fair way ahead of some of the other regions. But, as a testament to the strength of the market, one of the regions it's sitting ahead of is the Inner East at 83%. So it's not to say that there aren't strong performances running right across the board. Mornington Peninsula at 40% is suffering, I think, from volatility of the results with really low, a low sample size. So I wouldn't read too much into that just at this stage.
Mm. Okay, top Victorian sale is coming out of Inner Melbourne, as I mentioned. This is an apartment, 705. It really is quite spectacular. 705 at 147 Beach Street, Port Melbourne. 4,340,000. Greg Hocking Holsworth selling this one. Peter and Callum, a 3-bedroom apartment. Truly spectacular, this one.
Oh, look, it certainly is. And I mean, this is actually the highest sale under the hammer in the country for yesterday. It is a 3-bedroom apartment, but it's 175 square metres of living space with 125 metres of balcony area. It's right adjacent to Prince's Pier and has direct beachfront, but it also has views back towards Melbourne over the city skyline. Sold originally, this is a Mirvac development. This is on the 7th floor, and it sold in 2000 for 975,000. Just to give you an indication of the capital growth over a near 20-year period.
Are we seeing that with a lot of properties in Port Melbourne, Kevin?
Oh, look, Port Melbourne is an area which is increasing in popularity. We've actually seen the population grow by 11% over the last 5 years. Some of that is in unit developments, but we've also seen the median price of units increasing. So this is obviously something really very special, but the median price is 720,000. And in a general Melbourne market that did show signs of softening significantly over that sort of 18-month period, we have seen a 10% growth in unit prices in Melbourne compared to last year. Port Melbourne, compared to last year.
Well, we take you inside all the top sales that we feature, and we do that with a just click video, and you can have these done for yourself too. It literally only takes a matter of minutes to do these, and it's quite spectacular. Let's take you into our next top sale, our just click video sale, and this one is in Queensland. in Seven Hills. I'll get you to tell me a little bit about Seven Hills in a moment, Kevin, but 19 Darcy Road, Seven Hills, inner city, 1,365,000. Bell Properties, Tony O'Doherty selling this 3-bedroom one. Seven Hills, tell me a little bit about Seven Hills and this property.
Seven Hills is just to the east of the Brisbane city centre. I mean, it's in once again, it's in one of those pockets which is sort of highly sought after. It's interesting though that the median price in Seven Hills was or is 800,000, which is showing a bit of a fall over last year. But nonetheless, I mean, it is one of those areas which has historically done pretty well. This property, for example, I mean, it's sold for 1.365 million, but this was actually purchased relatively recently for $550,000, but has been significantly renovated to a very high specification. An extension. And I mean, if you look at the pictures, the way they've blended the internal and external living areas, almost with the entire wall at the rear of the property being bifold and sliding back is, its appeal is pretty obvious, I think.
Absolutely. And the agents there telling us that there was a huge demand for this property too, which doesn't really surprise me. We're going to come back in just a moment. We'll give you the top sale out of the ACT. Also, we'll take you to South Australia and Western Australia. And we'll take you inside the top sales in all of those areas. I want to talk to Kevin as well before we go today about what's happening with the unit market. Some interesting commentary happening during the week as well. Back in just a moment.
Hi everyone, my name's Nick and I'm the Country Manager here at Beepo. We offer outsourcing services for real estate agencies that are looking to become significantly more productive and efficient. Let me give you a bit of a rundown about how our real estate team actually works. At Beepo, we have many positions to assist our clients in the real estate industry. These include sales assistants, trust account and marketing staff. We also have a couple of our most popular products, the property management assistants and Rock End property assistants.
Welcome back to the show. Let's take you to our top Canberra property. This one being sold by Peter Blackshaw, $2 million, right on the knocker. 9 Babbage Crescent, I would guess, or Big Crescent in Griffith. Mario selling this one, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3-car on 817 square metres. Griffith, let's talk about that, Kevin.
Yeah, look, so Griffith is only about 4 kilometres south of Parliament House, and I think we've discussed highest sale auction properties in the ACT, and we quite often say that. And another thing that we quite often say is that it's very close to sort of parklands, and this one is no exception. For that close into the city, this is really quite a large block. The house is immaculately presented. It's facing onto a reserve, this area so close to Parliament House has seen a fair bit of population growth, which sort of underwrites the demand. And the median house price in this area is 1.35 million, and I think you can probably see from the images from this property that this is something special, even within a market with such a high median price.
Rain and Horn recording the top sale out of South Australia. This one was in Myrtle Bank. We'll take you to our video on this one. 3 Lindsay Avenue, 1,047,000. Peter Ems selling this 3-bedder, 2-bathroom. Myrtle Bank, you'd no doubt know a fair bit about that one, Kevin.
I drove through it on the way into the office
you might have.
this morning. Look, it's about 6 kilometres southeast of Adelaide, and it is that the southeast and eastern suburbs are highly sought after. This property is, again, we've often reported from Adelaide, has a lot of street appeal. I mean, this was a bungalow built in 1925. It's retained a lot of its external and internal period features and blended those then with a high quality modern renovation. And the 783 square metre lot is actually got a really wide frontage. So certainly from the street, it gives this sort of sense of space around the property. It last sold in 2010 for 800,000, and since that time it has been renovated, and the swimming pool has been added. So we've seen median prices in Adelaide holding fairly steady. We didn't see the downturn in the market that was observed in Sydney and Melbourne in particular. And the median house price in this location is holding reasonably steady around the 950,000 mark.
Very good. To WA now, and Applecross is the suburb we're going to talk about now, because the top sale it's in the southwest of Perth, 47 Dunkley Avenue, 2,025,000. Acton Applecross, Monica Yeo, selling this 3-bedder. Applecross. I think we've featured Applecross in the past, Kevin. Am I correct there?
Yes, we have. I mean, Applecross is a sort of inner suburb. It's on the southern banks of the Swan River. It's really not far from the city. It's only about 5 or 6 kilometres from Perth. This property in particular, I mean, the main selling point here was its potential. This is a 1948 dwelling on the site, and the site is 945 square metres, so it's undercapitalised. If you look at the satellite view of adjoining blocks of land, you'll see very significantly larger houses, really built to capitalise on the value add of those views over a reserve and over the Swan River. So this property really would appeal to either a developer looking to subdivide and put more than one dwelling on there. One would imagine that they'd have units on top of one another so that you actually get the maximum benefit of the views for every unit. In the alternative, somebody may decide to build a significant dwelling on the site, which takes full advantage of the location.
Yeah, well, as you said, over 900 square metres, so it would be a substantial home and a fabulous location. Kevin, before I let you go, I just wanted to have a quick comment from you about the unit market. A lot of adverse publicity on new unit apartments, and I don't know about you, but I'm certainly hearing a number of agents talking about the concern amongst buyers about buying new, and the likelihood that we might actually see a resurgence in value of some of the older style units.
Yeah, look, I think that's an interesting point. I've certainly spoken to some agents who've advised of renewed interest in perhaps some of the older style units, where perhaps your main concern might be making sure that the plumbing and the wiring are maintained up to date. People probably find that less confronting perhaps than issues relating to other building defects and combustible cladding.
Are you hearing much from valuers? I know that you work a lot in that field. Are they showing any concerns?
Yes, look, I think the issue that valuers have is that they attend a property in order to provide a mortgage security valuation for a lender, and all they can do is observe to see whether or not there are building defects that you or I might see. Now, what they can't do, and what takes a great deal more effort, is to sort of audit a building to determine what the exact issues are and what how to quantify them, and in particular the cost of repair. Some of the repair costs are really quite significant and will have an absolutely detrimental impact on value, but they really need to be quantified. So that's the dilemma facing both mortgage lenders and valuers. Is a building may appear to be clad, but until you actually audit the building, you're not going to be aware of whether or not it complies with building regulations and fire safety standards.
Yes, and of course those audits are currently underway and they're going to take some time to complete. So eventually we will get a total picture of what the market is like, particularly in relation to cladding. But I share your view there about some of the concerns that consumers are having, but they shouldn't be too afraid as long as they do their homework. And make sure they're dealing with a reputable builder. In most cases, they're going to be fairly comfortable. We tend to focus very much on the really horrific stories. Kevin, I want to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. Look forward to catching up with you again later in the week. Just a quick summary. We're looking at the possibility of holding above a 70% clearance rate as we get the final results from CoreLogic later in the week. And Kevin Brogan will join me with those figures and his analysis of what's ahead in the market at that time. That'll be coming up on Friday. Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic. Kevin, thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all. Thanks, Kevin.